Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to do an ink and watercolor study of a betta fish. It's a lot of fun drawing these fish because they the forms that they have are so free-flowing and wavy that it's actually even more important to hold your pencil in a way that's loose and not too tight, because you want to be able to capture that gestural movement of the fins, and holding the pen too tight can actually restrict that natural movement. You want your gesture or the movement of your pencil to almost like mimic the way the fish moves in a sense, and that's the way I kind of think, try to think of it while I'm drawing. I want to be able to imitate the natural flow of the fins as they're moving through water, and you find that the lines come out more naturally and more easy, more effortless, and more graceful in that way when you actually just loosen up and just let it flow, and then afterwards you can tighten up and correct them as you wish. Now we have to take special care when it comes to the scales, because it's important to lay a pattern down, because you want to show some structure, but at the same time you don't want it to be too geometric or robotic, so you have to lay something down at least to kind of serve as a guideline, and then on top of that you lay the scales down. That's pretty much what I did. It's good to observe it and sense the pattern that you see, and then go over it and lay them down, and it was really interesting and fun to kind of like capture this as best as I could. Now with the ink work, as I always stress, like if you intend to work with watercolor, it's important to keep your contours open and not overwork the drawing too much, because you want to leave a lot of space. You want the drawing to breathe, and you want the colors to really be what speaks the loudest. Now with the scales, we can't be too heavy-handed and kind of like create these bold, strong outlines. But at the same time, we want to give them some definition, but still be a little loose with our contour and the way we describe them, so that it doesn't seem as if they're like a pattern that's pasted onto the side of the fish. We still want it to be a little bit loose and make it seem as if they're not just rigid, but they actually flex and are thin and actually can move a little bit, so I try to make the scales a little bit irregular at times, and not keep the outline too consistent, but strengthen it in certain areas, especially where there's overlap, and keep it light and open in other areas. Now with the pectoral and caudal fins, I basically just use long flowy lines that are very continuous from where it attaches to the fish all the way to the tip. So that way it doesn't make the mistake of, or I don't make the mistake of creating a texture where I don't intend, because once you start breaking up the lines and using short hatch lines instead of long flowy lines, you can actually start conveying a texture, and which is what I don't want. I want to really let the lines reiterate or reinforce the flowing form of the fins. Now the main colors I use are my reds and my blues, and then I use the earth tones as well, of course, to create my grays and to deepen the colors. Here I'm using my pyrrol red, and I'm creating a really light wash, and then in different areas where there is more of like a purple, I actually mix the quinacridone magenta with my ultramarine blue. So you may actually use a violet here if you have it, but I like having the richness of both colors so I can switch back and forth. Now in the blue areas, I'm just using various mixes of three colors mainly, which is my cobalt teal, my phthalo turquoise, and my ultramarine blue, sometimes mixed in with the quinacridone magenta if I wanted to look a little bit more purple. And that's pretty much the main three colors that I use for my blue areas. I just shifted towards the cobalt teal whenever I wanted to look more green, and use more of the turquoise and ultramarine blue when I wanted to look more bluish. And I pretty much use my sepia to deepen my reds and the ultramarine blue as well. Now, although I'm using red and blue mainly, you know, I have to be careful about the you know, the green, like the cobalt teal and the turquoise, because they can actually neutralize the reds and I end up with gray. So I have to be careful that in areas where I have that cobalt teal, where I want to add the quinacridone magenta or any of my pyrrol red or pyrelen maroon, I have to be careful to make sure the green is dry before I go over it. And that's something you should be aware of as well, because if not, you can actually create a muddy color that may not be as vibrant. So I want the cobalt teal, the green in the cobalt teal, to still be vibrant, and I want the quinacridone magenta and my reds to still be vibrant. So in order to achieve that, I have to make sure that each layer of color is dry. And I kind of achieve this by kind of working back and forth in different areas of the fish at a time. So I may work at the front, I may work on the fin, or I may work on the body. Now you'll notice that I still layer my colors, you know, so I make sure that the initial layers are light and not as saturated, and this gives you a lot of play room, you know. So as the paint dries, you can actually get new ideas and you can actually experiment. And that's one of the things what I like about layering, is that I change ideas as the drawing or painting progresses, you know, so you can add something else, and all that richness shows through eventually in the end, and it makes the colors even more saturated and more vibrant, I think, especially when you let them dry, so that each layer has its own personality that it adds to the overall finish. And I basically wait until the end, you know, before I actually start adding the earth tones like the sepia. And I do this just to, you know, create dark accents, the deep areas where I want to strengthen shadow areas and so on. But that's something I kind of leave for last, because I don't want to interfere with the saturated colors. So now I'm just going in and reinforcing the ink work and you know, making the lines bold in certain areas, but I'm taking care to just leave the form open and let it breathe, and let the colors still, you know, be vibrant and speak the loudest. Okay, so thanks everyone for watching. I had a lot of fun doing this one. I feel like, you know, one thing you could definitely keep in mind is that, you know, you can be versatile with the colors you choose. You know, you don't have to use the same blues, but you can find equivalents that is actually in your palette, and I'm sure you pretty much get the same results. All right, so thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, learned something, or was just inspired, please give the video a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.